Good afternoon, everybody. Rusty Blackwood here, and I welcome you to my loft on December 19th. 1 week less one day is Christmas Day, and what what a glorious time of the year. I am planning to do a Christmas video later this week, but I just wanted to touch base because it's been quite a few days since I have, and I would, you know, talk about whatever comes to my mind. It's a nice day here. We didn't have a bad storm yesterday. It was just, we had a mix of rain and snow, and the temperature went really low, and there was some freezing. There was some, slippery streets and some slippery sidewalks and things like that that needed some salting or sanding today. Um, But hey, it's a time of the year for it, and so it's to be expected. Um, I don't really mind snow. I think it's very very pretty, especially when it's laying on the evergreens, um, because it's very much like a Christmas card. When you look out and you see like a traditional Christmas card comes to you or something, and you see the scene, and there's snow everywhere, and there's pine trees and spruce trees and cedars and bushes everywhere, evergreens, and the snow is laying on the boughs, and you know, they're moving in the breeze, and it's very, very pretty. Plus, here in the city, when the snow comes, it covers up all the drabness that seems to be everywhere. And so I like that. I very much enjoy that. And because, when it first comes, it's so pretty because it's fresh and it's clean, and um, and it's really nice. Just covers all the dirt and the crap that lays around on the sides of the streets and stuff. And of course, as the days go by and the snow melts, well, then it's not so pretty. But until then, it is very, very nice. And I, uh, I don't mind snow, but I don't like the cold and the damp. And here in Ontario, it's a very damp province because we have so much water. Here in Niagara, it's a peninsula here, and we're surrounded on three sides by water, and Lake Ontario um, to the north, and Lake Erie to the south, and the Niagara River that runs between the two, and then further north there's Lake Simcoe, and there's all these rivers and tributaries everywhere. The further north you go, the more there is, and so it just causes a lot of dampness that hangs in the air, and if you have any issues with contracting bronchitis or pneumonia, then it can be, the winter can be really, really rough for people. And um, and so um, I'm just getting over, I think, once and for all, we'll touch wood here, um, this this horrible, miserable cold that I've had. And I did a video here a while ago where I spoke about it, and I I thought it was gone, and but I spoke too soon, and a couple of days after that, it was back, and didn't feel very good again for a few days. But now it seems to be like I'm not sneezing my head off. I'm not blowing the nose off my face constantly. Um, the drugstore made a good profit off of me in Kleenex and and nasal spray, stuff like that. But I'm very much into natural remedies, and definitely so. And I've said many times that everything everything we need, whatever we need it for, the earth provides it. It's out there if you know just what to look for, and bypass all these pharmaceutical chemicals that's constantly being pushed on people all the time. And it's not for your health; it's for their pocketbook. And so you know, it's big business. And as long as they can keep you coming back for more medication, that you're never going to get better. You're never going to. They're not trying to heal you. They're trying to secure you so that you continue to buy their products and increase the amount in their bank accounts. And so I've been around long enough. I've been around the block a few times, and I know what I'm talking about. And so the tried and trusted, old natural remedies are by far the best, and they work. So, give them a try and learn about them. For those who don't have books on it or whatever, you can always find out anything you need to know. Google it, and you can get some amazing articles on natural remedies. And here in Niagara, one of the best places to visit to find out about all of that is Niagara-on-the-Lake, the Apothecary there, which is an old-fashioned drugstore. And it was my mother's favorite shop in Niagara-on-the-Lake whenever she would visit. And she just loved going there because she said it put her in mind of the way drugstores looked when she was a girl in the 20s. And this was before, like, long before the big, like, Shoppers Drug Mart or any of that kind of stuff was ever on the scene. And this shop it's in a very, very old building because Niagara-on-the-Lake is extremely old, dates back to the War of 1812, 13 and 14 here in Ontario. And the the war between with Britain coming here, and people fighting against it, and so anyway, this old building dates that far back. All board floors in it, and there is electricity in it, of course. I mean, back in the time this building would have been built, it would have all been kerosene lamps. Might have even been candles at one time prior to kerosene lamps, oil lamps. But you go in there, and there's one whole wall is nothing but glass covered cases, and one after the other, after the other, after the other as you go down. And within each one, you'll find everything imaginable from outdoors. You'll find herbs. You will find bark, different barks off of different trees. You will find leaves. You will find minerals. You will find things that you would never imagine possible. And it's all listed, what it is, where it's found, like what area it's found in, its uses, how you mix it, and how you would use it for whatever ailment this particular item would be used for. And one summer I was in there, the druggist, like the pharmacist, they had a man that knew, even back then, they knew everything that was in the shop and what it was used for. And because at that time, I hardly think that it was labeled as it is today, because today everybody is rushing to, get a prescription filled that is from Big Pharma. But back then, it wasn't that way. And so the druggist would have known what all these natural items he had in the store, what they were for, and where he would find it in whatever area he kept it in. But when I was in there, there was this old crock, and I was drawn to it because it reminded me so much of our water container when I was in elementary school, it was a one-room schoolhouse that I took my grades 1 through 8 in, and took my entrance there for high school. And and our old water crock was, oh, probably about 3 feet tall, and it was sort of, it was very round, came in more at the top and came out as you went down, and then it went back into its solid base. And it was like it was ceramic, um, and it was basically a white with all these blue rings painted around it, and at the bottom there was the little tap, or some would call it a spigot, that was in there that you would put your paper cup that was right beside, that was there hanging on the wall, and you'd put it under there and push down on the top of it, and the water would come out and fill the cup. So when I was in the apothecary, I saw, um, which was basically the very same thing as our water. It's our water container, our water cooler at school. And so I went over, and here was it was on the counter that ran behind where the druggist was, and of course there was a long counter in front of him that was, all glass covered with stuff in there. And so I asked him about the crock, because he had a sign on there saying, fresh leeches, um, however many it was, for 25 or 50 cents. And I thought, like, no, that's not the real deal. And to me, if you wanted to find the real deal, you'd go out in the woods, or you'd go where there was a stream running, where there was water that went off from there, that was gathered in a pool or whatever, off by itself. And the sun would shine on that and makes the water stagnant. But if you put your feet in there, you're going to get leeches, because the leeches are in the water. And in that kind of water, they aren't in fresh running water, but standing water, you're going to find leeches. And so, so I and I knew that years ago, people, they used to use leeches that put on your skin to draw out infection. They'd suck onto your skin, and they'd pierce your skin, and they would suck. And naturally, they'd be sucking your blood, but with that, they're sucking the infection that they're put on there to do. And it was called bleeding. And I never ever had it done. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't be in the lineup to have that done. But people, they did. Just excuse me for a minute. I need to have a little drink here. And so anyway, I saw this sign, and I asked the pharmacist. I said, am I reading that sign correctly? I said, are those real leeches that you have in that crock there? And he said, yes. And he said, how many would you like? I said, no, I'm not. I'm not in the market to have any leeches. But I said, I just found it. I found it odd that you would have fresh leeches here. And like he said, well, why not? People use them. And so that was kind of an eye-opening situation that I didn't think that I was going to encounter that day. But when the last time I had my mother in there, he didn't have any fresh leeches, and of course, excuse me for coughing here. And I mean, my mom passed in 2015, so this was prior to that when she was last in there. And because I think if I recall right, the last time she visited me was 2 summers before she passed away. And I don't recall there being any leeches at that time, because I think she would have been very amused. And but I remember telling her, because I from the time she was last there, and I was in there to see these leeches. Probably would have been maybe the summer leading up to Mom's passing in September of 2015, and I was telling her, you know, these leeches and my conversation with the pharmacist there, and I can remember she got quite a kick out of that, and she said no, she says when she was a girl, she says that was a very common sight to come across when you were in the pharmacy, and so or the apothecary as they were called, and I'm just trying to straighten this because it just keeps wanting to go off to the side. It's lovely. I just got this. I got it from Cleo, and it's really quite nice. This part, the medallion part, is actually quite heavy, and it's like a chain, like a link chain that's very fine, and it just clasps behind your neck, and I haven't. I'm making it. This isn't even alone. I'm making it far worse. But anyway, um, I just I like things to be the way that they're supposed to be. So everything has a place, and it needs to be in it. So, and then this is no different. So anyway, so that's it's when I talk on these videos, especially when I'm not talking about books or you know the writing of books and publishing things like that. I I just let my mind wander, and whatever comes to mind that I might like to talk about, and just filling time here, and not letting the videos get too long, but trying to talk about something that might be of interest to whoever's listening. And I'm sure there would be a lot of you out there that have never ever seen a leech or encountered one stuck on the bottom of your foot or anything like that. Um, but I remember when I was in public school, um, every May Day, whenever May Day would fall, usually right near the beginning of the month, um, we would all go. No, excuse me, I made a mistake there. It wasn't May Day; it was Arbor Day, and it fell after May Day, and it was starting to get quite, not hot, but it was starting to get. It was warming up, and we would go fishing in the morning, like the entire school. Which you got to remember, it was just the kids in the neighborhood where I grew up. So I mean, it wasn't like um, there was like today where there's like 22, 23 kids in one class. This was different. Um, the majority of the time that I went, I think the highest count was 9. I think we did reach 10 at one time, um, but the majority of the time it was right around 9. And so anyway, we would all go fishing, and nobody had store-bought fishing rods or anything like that. It was just poles, that you make yourself, and you just put a string on the end, you tie it on, and you put your hook on the other end, and you had worms that you dug, and so that was our fishing gear, and no lures, no nothing like that. And I think, if I recall right, I think there was a couple of years that I had um, a float, and it was round and white with red stripes around it, and it would lay on the top of the water. You'd put it on your fishing line up part way, so the water, like when you put your line, you threw your string in the water. Um, this float would stay on the surface. And if there was anything in, like these where we went was not too far away from the school, and you went back in this field, and and down, and in there was like it was a stream that ran through, but it was all these little pools of water that would be sort of off to the side that the current would, you know, would wash out, so there would be water going away from the main stream. And they were every so far apart you'd find these, and there'd be fish in them, but there'd also be leeches in them. And uh, and our teacher, Mrs. Gladys Carroll, I've spoken about her many times because she was I would say one of my main inspirations to write, because she she was a wonderful dramatic um, teacher of literature and poetry and composition and things like that. And she must have seen something in me in the stories that I would write and stuff, because she would encourage me to continue with it. Like, see what you can do with this, and you write how you feel and things like that. And I often wonder, um, if she were here today, what she would think, what she would have to say. But I like to think that she's kind of smiling, that maybe her encouragement um, wasn't falling on deaf ears and what she had to say to me. And I will forever be grateful to her for her encouragement and the nice things that she would say to me. Um, she was very, very regimented when it came to uh, the way that you wrote. It had to be grammatically correct, and it had to be the way when you learn cursive, um, the way the letters are formed. Um, she was a stickler for that, because I used to want to make my W's and my M's and things different than the curriculum was supposed to be. And she'd correct me every time, and she would say, no, you have to do it the way that it's being taught for now. After you finish school, then you can make the letters however you want. But she says, for now, it has to be done this particular way. And so, but when it came to um, composition, where she would tell the class, whichever grade, all the different grades, everybody had literature at the same time, and whatever grade you were in would be the level of literature that you would be doing. And so whatever the topic was, and she would say, to come up with your own ideas of what you can write a story about, and you'd be given so much time to get it completed and hand it in. And that's where, she encouraged me, because she knew that I had a very vivid, sometimes wild imagination, and I could think up the darndest things to write about. And uh, and she really picked up on that, and that's where her encouragement came from. Keep doing this, keep doing this. Now, mind you, I had to write. My writing had to be, the letters had to be formed properly, but the topic, or the composition, was graded on also your idea, and how you formed your story, and beginning, middle, and end, and carried it through. And so that's where her encouragement came from. But when we would go on these fishing expeditions on Arbor Day, she would lead us, and the she would say, be mindful. You might feel warm or something. You can take your shoes and socks off, but don't put your feet in the water. And you put them near the water to cool them down, but don't put them in the water. And So there was quite a few of us that realized, that knew why you didn't put your feet in the water. But there was some that they didn't care, and they were going to put their feet in the water. And so my best girlfriend at that time, her brother, he wasn't going to be told that he couldn't cool his feet down the water. So he put his feet in there in this one pond we stopped at, and he barely got his feet wet, and all of a sudden he's screaming and he's pulling his feet out of the water. And the poor kid, he, bottom of his feet, both soles of his feet were covered in these leeches. And it would hurt because they bite right into you, and they suck right there. Eh? Mrs. Carl, she'd get out her, because she was prepared. She had an actual box she carried, and she had everything imaginable in that box, and she had a first aid kit and everything else in there, because you never knew what was going to happen. So she got out her jackknife, and she scraping the bottom of Jerry's feet, trying to scrape these leeches off. And the majority of them were coming off. He's laying there on his back, got his legs up, and banging his feet on the ground. Then Mrs. Carl's telling him, sit still, try to be still, I get these off. And so anyway, she got the majority off, but some of them, they had, they were there for the duration, I think. And so she had to get out a bottle of alcohol. She'd pour it, and what, of course, where the leeches had been be stinging to begin with, because it's like an open wound almost. But the leeches don't like alcohol, and they back off and fall off. And but I well remember that she'd have to get out her disinfectant and her band-aids. She's wrapping his feet. That was, I think that was one of the worst times that we ever had a problem like that. And then we go back to school. This would be in the morning, and there was no schoolwork that day at all. It was like a holiday, and we go back to the school, and then we'd build a big bonfire, and we'd have a wiener roast, and then roast marshmallows as well. And so we had a good time. But poor Jerry, he, he never did that again. And but pays to pay attention when the person that's the authoritative person there is telling you something, and you better listen. Poor my friend, he learned a hard lesson there, and so he never ever repeated that. When we went the next time, he paid attention. She told everybody, don't put your feet in the water. And so and Jerry had instant flashback of why you don't. So, but that's so long ago now, recalling that. But I laugh even to this day. I mean, it wasn't funny, but just I can still see him, and he was he was beside himself, because I think he figured they were going to drain him of any blood he had. So, but anyway, I don't know how long it would have been before he might have, passed out. I don't know. But any of the rest of us, we weren't we weren't going to try it and find out if we got leeches, or how many we got, or how quickly we got them. So that was a hard lesson learned for everybody, really. But anyway, so much for memory lane here today, and it's coming up to the 30-minute mark, and I have been trying very hard not to surpass that by very much. So I'm going to be back sometime this week, probably midweek to later week, and with my Christmas video. And I do hope that you will, check it out, tune in and check it out. And I hope you press like for this video today, and that you comment it. and share it on, and please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've said many times that it doesn't cost you anything. You get a notification whenever I put up a new video, and I always, in the description below, I always, do a small synopsis of what the video contains, what I'm going to be talking about. And same with any of my videos. I hope you check them all out, because it's growing in number. There's multiple videos now to check out with all different topics. And so I hope you will, and I hope you enjoy it. And say hi to me, and let me know if you enjoyed it. And so I will see you, and I will wish God's blessings to each of you. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.